Made them out of wood, so now I'll show you how to make them out of epoxy resin. Pick my colors. I'm going to make it out of this wine color, this black color. Now I've already gotten my Dixie cups filled with the part A. I put my colors in them already. So now it's time to go ahead and put part B in them, mix them up, and then we can pour them into our blank. As soon as we put part B in there, they'll start to cure. This is the blank I'm going to use. I'm just going to use one side of it and pour the resin in here. This is a silicone mold, so the walls are really flexible. So I wrap it in tape and it helps hold this outside wall in place. And take a couple of blocks of wood, drop it in here. That'll help support this wall so it doesn't flex. It'll keep your mold relatively square. Now we need to take part B. I already got a line drawn. I got 50% of part A in there. Now we'll top it off with part B and fill it up. You want to stir it for a couple of minutes, make sure it's good and thoroughly mixed. Otherwise it won't set properly. Alright, I'm going to use a little piece of hardboard as a divider. Put that down in here. That'll keep the two different colors separate until I'm ready for them to mix. Alright, and just lift out your divider. You'll have a nice clean line between them. And I like to just dip it in and give them a little bit of a drag. We'll mix them two colors in the center and get some cool designs. Now we need to get the pressure pot going. The bottom of it is dished out, so I take a board, set it in there so I get a nice flat surface. Then I put a little level down in there, make sure it's sitting level. I just take the end off of a combination square. Alright, it's level. And carefully transfer your blank down inside. Just a painter's pressure pot. This comes from Harbor Freight. They're about $95. Got a gauge on here. You set it to 40 psi. One of the things I do is I set my air compressor's output volume to 40 psi. That way no more than 40 psi is going to come out of my air compressor before going into here, just in case somebody fiddled with this dial and adjusted how much air is going to go in there. You hate to accidentally throw 175 psi into this thing and have a bad day. It's got a pressure relief valve, so it's supposed to protect from overpressuring, but you know, if that fails and all that air goes in there, else you got a bomb. Well, let's get the air compressor going. We'll charge that up. All right, air compressor is fully charged. This is your tank pressure. It's how much volume air we have to work with. I got 175 psi in here. This gauge right here represents your line pressure. Right now I have 0 line pressure, so there's nothing going that way. We just want to turn this up to 40 psi because that's what that thing is rated for over there. We don't want to overcharge the pressure pot. So this will be our first line of defense to keep from blowing up my shop. Then that's got a gauge on there. As long as nobody fiddled with it, it should be at 40 psi. So there's second line of protection. Plus it's got a safety pop-off valve that overpressurized is supposed to blow the air out. There's your third line of protection. So let's go ahead and turn this up. to 40 psi, then we can hook it up. Turn your valve off, and then you can just slowly crack it open. You just slowly let the air in. You can just bring it up. Right here is 40. So now we let it sit for 24 hours to fully cure. This thing's got a bit of a leak. It's going to bleed down in about 2 or 3 hours. It'll be down to about 20 psi, but it really doesn't matter all that much because this stuff will be set up fairly cure in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and no more air bubbles are going to come out. So it's that first hour that's really important to have it under pressure to force them air bubbles out of the center of that blank, so you don't have a screwed up blank or a potential blow up on your lathe when you're turning it. You don't want shards of acrylic flying all over the damn place. I could get a bottle of soap and water out here and find the air leak, but it doesn't really matter all that much. As long as we've got 40 psi for the first couple hours, we'll have a good blank when we're done. So now we'll just let it sit overnight. All right, I got it out of the pressure pot, set for 24 hours. So now we just take it out of the mold. It looks like the black kind of overtook all the red. Oh, no, underneath looks really nice. It's got a really cool, almost layered effect. This will make an interesting pin. It's got cool, like, lava cracks in here. But that's our blank. I'm not going to show you how to put the tube in and turn it and all that stuff. You can see that on my previous pin making video. We'll get back to this after I'm ready to do the finishing on it. The finishing is just like doing the regular wood pin until you get the 600 grit sandpaper. Then you got to move into wet sanding up to 12,000 grit sanding pads with some then some plastic polishing compound. We'll get back to that later. But here's our blank. Okay, so we ran through all the sandpaper all the way up to 600 grit. If this would have been a wood blank, one, it wouldn't have taken nearly as long to sand. Acrylic is very unforgiving for scratches and that. You have to just keep sanding and sanding and sanding and try and get rid of all the tool marks from the previous layer of sanding from moving on. If it was wood, we'd hit it with the Triple E Ultra Shine, put the shallow wax on, and we'd be done. With the acrylic, we have to just keep polishing because we're trying to get that perfectly glass, smooth, clear surface. So we have these sanding pads. They start out at 1500 grit all the way up to 12,000 grit, and we will just work through them. They're all color coded, and what you're supposed to do is you just start with the bottom pad, pull it out, put it in a container of water because these are wet sanding pads. When you're done with that, set it aside, grab the next one from the bottom until you run through the whole stack of them. Once you've got through the whole stack of them, hopefully we'll have it a really nice, clear, smooth surface, and then we'll put some acrylic polishing wax on there and finish it off. And with any luck, it turns out nice. So let's polish them up. Alright, now I got this plastic polish here. I haven't actually tried this stuff before, so we're either going to completely screw up this pen or we'll get a nice glossy finish on there. That looks pretty good. I think I can go ahead and assemble this. show you the finished product. All right, so that's an acrylic pen. It's a little bit more of an in-depth process than making a wooden pen, but it's still really not overly difficult. And yeah, you got to invest a little bit more money. You got to buy all the resins, the pressure pot, the dyes, and everything like that. And it does take more time to prepare the blank. Sanding can be a royal pain in the ass because it clogs the sanding paper up. But it's not a bad process, and you can get some really cool designs. It's fun to play with the resin and different colors, things like that. I prefer wood pens myself over the acrylic pens. I think in the future I want to get me it's like a desktop or a benchtop grinder, but it's got buffing wheels on there. It's these little flapper wheels, get some buffing compound, and then I can really take the shine on these acrylic pens, take them up to the next level, make them really freaking clear. Especially if I upgrade this and go to the bigger lathe, then I can start turning larger acrylic projects. You start embedding things into clear acrylics. You're going to want the buffing wheels, be able to put them on there, buff it up to get that super crystal clear, see-through shine. I mean, with the opaque resins, the shine isn't as important. If it's going to be something see-through, some sort of art project, you're going to want the buffing wheels. It's something I don't have yet, I'll eventually get. But, that's it. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button. I'll see you next time.